Well, that didn't take long. Less than a week of the game being out, Battlefield 6 has released a update that made the entire Conquest mode completely implode online. If you haven't seen exactly what I'm talking about, the Battlefield News Online shared that we've reduced the starting ticket count across all Conquest maps so matches finish at a more natural pace. Previously, many rounds were hitting the time limit instead of ending when one team ran out of tickets. We'll keep monitoring the feedback and data to make sure the flow of each match feels right.
You fools! You've messed with the natural order!
Now, I don't exactly understand why this change had to be made exactly. Every Conquest map that I've played so far throughout the launch of the game has never ended on a time limit before, and pretty much every game has either been a somewhat close blowout where one team might be somewhere around 250 tickets, but I've never actually been on a game where the tickets were super close, where it was pretty much exactly even the entire time, which I can imagine the time would run out at some point, and that does suck. I do think that timing stuff on any of these game modes is probably not necessary, but I do understand that we don't want to sit there and play a 2-hour game of Conquest, which, you know, some of us might actually like that. That might be a pretty fun game mode. But I don't really understand why we're taking the fun out of the game. Like, if you're having a really close game and the teams are both even with each other down to the wire, why would you want to end the game on a time limit? That just goes to show that the time limit for the games are too small. Like, we're already dealing with probably 40 to 45 minutes, but what if we just bump the timer up to an hour and then have the games actually end in a natural way? That's what they say in the post, is that they want to make sure that the flow of each match feels right. Well, the flow of the match can change drastically throughout the entire thing. You can get stomped, half of your tickets down to 500 to 850, for example, and then completely flip the game 180, and now you're pushing the other team away as much as possible, and that game may take a while. It could take over an hour for that game to finish. But I don't know where they're getting this data exactly from. They're getting this data from something, obviously, and I don't know if it's from bot matches or whatever is going on with it, but the lowering of the ticket count just seems like the weirdest decision ever. And of course, they changed everything down from different values to all over the place. I mean, Mirak Valley is going from 1,000 to 700. New Sobek City is going from 1,000 to 900. Operation Firestorm is going from 1,000 to 700. Manhattan Bridge, 1,800. Liberation Peak is going down to 800. Iberian Offensive is going to 900, Empire State 900, and Siege of Cairo 900. So all the smaller maps are only being reduced by 100 tickets, but the big maps are being reduced by 300 tickets. So you can understand that the Battlefield community is pretty much guaranteed to be upset about this. I mean, this isn't exactly what we've been asking for. There's many other issues that people are asking for, and I don't really believe I've saw anybody saying, hey, these games are ending on time limits and they don't feel good. So for this to be the first change, yeah, I guess this is the easiest thing to change because you're just switching over a couple values in the old notepad. But unfortunately, all the other issues that people are having with the game, such as the bloom, the hit registration, just like a few other things that people are just really having issues with online, aren't really being addressed. They did address the bloom and the issues with the hit registration in the game. The X-Account Battlefield Cons, which I'm getting most of my news from, is claiming that we're aware of reports of rare cases where bullets may not register damage correctly when hitting enemies. Following our investigation, we found that this was related to certain weapon attachment combinations, and a hotfix has been deployed to address the known instances. We'll continue to monitor performance. They love to say that at the end of everything, that they're continuing to monitoring everything, which is really nice that they're keeping an eye on the entire game and just making sure that all these changes can happen well. But unfortunately, this Conquest change is not going over well. People are royally pissed off with the fact that they're changing the ticket count instead of just fixing the time. It could have been very much an easy fix of just increasing the time by 5 or 10 minutes, and instead they lowered all of our ticket counts, so it means that we're no longer able to play the game going through as intended. The main thing with Conquest is the fact that the ticket drain, no matter how many it is, as long as it's not below the 1,000 mark, if that was the intended point of the game mode, is that ticket drain is the time limit, right? The game shouldn't end on a time. It should end when the ticket count hits 0 and one team wins over the other. It's when you get these chances to actually make comeback victories to where you're getting beat up for the entire game. I mentioned this earlier, but that's like the best part about Conquest in my opinion. I've always played Conquest ever since I got into the Battlefield series. I played an absolute crap load of it back in Battlefield 4 especially. Conquest was like my main bread and butter, and I don't remember games ever ending on a time limit in that game either. Maybe a couple times on game modes like, or not game modes, but on maps like Paracel Storm. I remember maps like that ending on a time limit just because there was just so much space and it was really hard for people to move around, especially when it was a water map like that. And speaking of water maps, I do know that they are confirming that we are getting naval combat in Battlefield 6, which is absolutely pretty nice to hear. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like Paracel Storm coming back into the Battlefield series again. But it's not always just, doom and gloom, like we get a bad update here and a bad thing going on over here and all these issues of bloom and hit reg and visuals and everything else. It's just the fact that we are actually able to receive the game and they're making changes quickly. Like we're already in the first week. We haven't even hit the first week. I think Friday will be the first week roll around for the game, but we've just seen a flurry of changes happening already, which is really nice to see. And I always thought that it was hard for games to release updates, especially when they have consoles involved, because consoles have to require a whole bunch of issues and publishing stuff going on, so the updates can't roll through quickly. So it always seemed like you had to wait like a month before updates finally came out. But for Battlefield 6, they are just shoving out as many fixes as they can. They might be hot fixes, so they can come out really quickly, but we're just seeing some serious change happening as fast as possible. And I really hope that they take that speed into fixing, the bloom and the hit registration, which I've already mentioned that they're, going to try to fix, right? They're putting out hot fixes to try to alleviate it, but there's obviously some major issues going on with just weapon bloom and everything else going on, because it wasn't like that in the beta. I remember the beta having a lot faster movement speed, and it seems a lot slower in the base game. All the guns felt like complete laser beams. It didn't matter what you were using. And now with the full release of the game, a lot of the guns feel a little more random, which I don't really have that big of an issue with, to be honest. The bloom hasn't been a huge issue for me. I think you're seeing a lot of exaggerated clips from streamers and clips from people that make content on the game, because they're playing the game so much that they're realizing these things are issues. And yes, it does affect people like you and me who have normal jobs and normal time out of their day to play the game. Like I don't have all day to play Battlefield. I get off work, I come home, enjoy a nice dinner, and I might play a few matches of Battlefield. Like that's just kind of where I am. And I understand that these issues do affect pretty much everybody playing the game. But for me personally, I really haven't had many issues. I'm sure there's instances where if I look back at my footage, I might see me shooting at somebody and I miss half the bullets unintentionally because the bloom decided that I wasn't going to hit them for that day or for that firefight. But what can you do, honestly? Like you take a death, you respawn, and you keep on moving on. You got to hit those flags and PTFO, as they say. So I can't wrap my head around the fact that we're changing Conquest tickets down a number because of a time limit. Like, are people sitting in bot lobbies to where time limits are running out and they're seeing that as official data, and they're like, oh man, people are really running that timer down, better change these ticket counts. But obviously the publisher of the game, DICE and EA, they're gonna have far more information at their disposal than we are. Especially for myself, I only have a small, probably a droplet in the ocean of data that they have available to them. My opinion doesn't exactly sway their ideas, but I think the collective, group of the internet online have clearly stated that they don't want the tickets to be reduced. They would rather just a little bit of extra time to actually get these games completed. And I completely agree. I think these time limits should be extended a bit. I think the ticket count should go back to 1,000. Maybe they can be tweaked a little bit, beyond each map, but the big maps don't need to be 700. The small maps don't need to be 900. Those can stay to 1,000 and so on. So anyway, I think I'll close out the video here. I'm going to go ahead and end it with a little discussion question for you guys. Do you think that this change for the Conquest mode is needed? Do you think that they're missing out on other major issues that should be fixed with the game? Go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know. Make sure you guys leave a like. Go ahead and subscribe if you're new, because I upload pretty much every single day. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye.